laws of nature, miracles, and the stratified structure of reality. The world we live in is multi-leveled. The strongest evidence that can be brought forward for this fact is the plurality of the natural sciences. No one science can provide an adequate description and explanation of every aspect of reality. The levels of reality that most concern humanity could be represented by the sciences that have been developed to study them. Broadly speaking, they would be, from highest to lowest, sociology, psychology, biology, chemistry, classical physics, quantum physics. It's important to make clear that these levels are not completely separated from one another, but are open to one another at what Michael Polanyi and others have referred to as their boundary conditions, where the various sciences have some overlap. That this is something easily grasped should become clear with a few examples. Viruses operate primarily in the biological level of reality. It would be silly, for example, to try to psychoanalyze them or explain them in terms of quantum mechanics or even classical mechanics. And yet they can have a dramatic effect on the psychological level of our lives. If we get sick, our personalities are affected, and we cannot get to feeling like ourselves again until the abnormality at the lower level is dealt with on its own terms. It's also clear that what happens at higher levels of reality, such as falling in love, can impact the more basic biochemical processes of our bodies. There's a sense in which the lower levels of reality control the upper levels, but we must make sure that we understand this idea of control in a very specific sense. It is not the case, as once was thought, most famously by Laplace, that the universe is a closed system of cause and effect where everything happens because, at the microscopic level, everything simply unfolds in a strictly causal way, so that if we were to know every relevant piece of information of the universe at any given point in time, we will be able to predict, both forward and backward in time, what happened or will happen by simply deducing from those given conditions. However, the properties manifested at lower levels do form a kind of limit to what is able to happen at higher levels. I cannot use my car as if it were an airplane. I cannot treat a boulder as if it were a swimming pool, and these limitations rely on the nature of reality at lower levels that is brought to conceptual clarity by the sciences that study those levels. It is also fully possible to take insights that we have gained about reality at its lower levels and exploit them to achieve something at a higher level which nature, left to its own devices, would not achieve. A particularly clear example is the feat of engineering that is the airplane. We've learned, because of the sciences of the lower levels of reality, how air pressure behaves in a wide variety of situations. Because of this, we've been able to determine the conditions under which significant lift can be achieved and then contrive a machine that makes that ideal condition the one under which it operates at all times, or at least whenever its operator wishes. The point that I wish to draw out with this is that when human beings engage in the science of engineering, which operates at a high level of organization, applying the insights gained from the study of the levels of reality with lower levels of organization, we do not break the laws that operate at these lower levels. When an airplane takes off and flies through the air, it is natural to describe such an event as being caused by human beings, and very few would doubt it. Clearly, what is happening is not the pure product of nature, but is the product of an intelligent agent. As a brief side note, it must be stressed that the mere consideration of the impossibility of an event or improbability of an event is not sufficient to imply an intelligence is at work, but improbability, when coupled with meaning, is sufficient to raise the real possibility that an intelligent agent has been involved. However, though it is abundantly clear that humans have done something new at the level of engineering, it becomes progressively less clear as we descend down the levels of reality. At the chemical level, it is possible that one might suspect that the airplane is the product of forces that are beyond the purely natural. That is to say, nature, when left to its own devices, would not have produced a functioning airplane at this point in time, because the airplane is made out of alloys that are not naturally occurring. However, when we step down yet again to the level studied by classical physics, we find that no law of physics is broken. When considered only on the physical level, there is no way to decide whether human beings have done anything at all. The fundamental forces of nature are not violated. Conservation of mass and energy is maintained. In fact, there is nothing about the airplane that requires relativity theory to explain, so Newtonian laws and conceptions are sufficient for such an evaluation. That is, the margin of error is not significant on the phenomena in question. Let us pause here in order to put a point into context. There once was a time when miracles were defined as a breach of the natural laws. As defined in this way, miracles came under heavy attack. David Hume argued that if we cannot see on a regular basis miracles on the order of those recorded in the Bible, we have no compelling reason, at least no compelling reason based on pure reason itself, which was becoming the standard by which all their claims were judged, to believe in them. But what was meant when people said that miracles were breach of the natural laws? Are we to infer that nothing is a miracle unless it defies Newton's laws of motion or the laws of thermodynamics or other such laws? If we examine the historical and cultural context a bit more carefully, we can see that this was indeed not what was meant. The world was increasingly seen as a closed system of cause and effect. This view reached its culmination again with Laplace. To be a breach in the laws of nature was to deviate from this strict cause and effect system. As the confidence in this understanding of the universe achieved hegemony, it became increasingly felt that miracles, defined as breaches of the natural laws, were different, or difficult, if not impossible, to believe in. If miracles happened at all, let alone with any frequency, it meant that the universe was not closed at all, but it must be seen as open. And if the universe was open, it would mean that the Laplacian ideal was unattainable, a thought that was too countercultural to take root at the time. However, the idea that the universe can be seen as a closed system, marked by a rigid deterministic form of cause and effect, has been radically critiqued by modern science, not least with the uncertainty identified in quantum mechanics. No longer do we believe that we can finally reduce all phenomena to their very most basic physico-chemical states and describe them adequately. All the complex events of the world, including the results of human agency, cannot be predicted based on atomic or subatomic science, nor even on chemistry, biology, or even psychology or sociology. It must be noted that each of these fields plays a role and has some predictive power, but each concentrates on a particular field of inquiry, a particular level of reality, and it is not possible to reduce all the sciences into a single discipline. This means that though psychology and sociology can help predict human behavior, though even this is far from deterministic, they are lacking in the prediction of other levels of reality. Because of this, the definition and critique of miracles that went along with such a deterministic outlook must be revised. This is where I do not think that the flippant denials of miracles that we see in our contemporary culture are particularly effective. If we human beings were to produce a miracle of engineering such as flight, space travel, or any as of yet unimaginable thing, such a feat could only be truly appreciated at the level at which the engineering took place. What is astonishing is that something had happened at a macro level that has never happened before. The moment we take our attention off this higher level and move to the lower levels, we find things to be less and less surprising. At the physical level, which is far more basic than that of engineering, we find that air moves, that fans turn, that fuel is burned, and thrust is generated. None of those things are significant in themselves, nor even when taken as a group. It's only when all these things take the specific higher-level significance that they do in an airplane that they become significant, and it is only when we see it at that level that we can see it as a mighty feat of engineering. If this is the case, what might someone advance to reject the miraculous? If indeed miracles come from God, and we can assume that God operates at levels that are even higher than we human beings do, what would we expect a miracle to look like? We would expect it to be something remarkably unexpected at the higher levels, and yet be relatively insignificant at the lower levels. Just as airplane flight is a decidedly unnatural event in that it was not the development of a pure natural process without intelligent intervention, but breaks absolutely no laws of nature, why should we not expect an actual divine miracle to be similarly unimpressive when viewed at a sufficiently low level? When we understand this, we can see that many of the miracles of the Bible are not breaches of the natural laws, and yet are not the less miraculous because of it. The parting of the Red Sea, the calming of the storm, and many other miracles, while utterly unexpected, would not violate the actual laws of nature. Again, as noted parenthetically above, we are drawn to infer an intelligent agent, not just on the basis of an improbability of an event, but because of a combination of improbability and meaningfulness of the event. It seems that this is a far better understanding of the miraculous than defining a miracle as a breach of the natural laws. It should be noted that, though I am a Christian, this is not a distinctly Christian argument. It is intended to demonstrate that even on the basis of science, what is commonly called miraculous should not be dismissed, as if miraculous is to be equated with the superstitious. Additionally, an analysis of an alleged miracle on lower levels merely shows that the miraculous character of a phenomenon is not to be seen on such a level, such as the investigation of a miraculous healing by showing that the healing did not violate etiology, that is, the disease actually went away in a way that can be accounted for by an investigation on the low level, does not show that such would have been expected to be the case. It's precisely in its unexpected nature that the healing is considered to be miraculous. It does not go to prove any particular miracle, nor promote an attitude that takes every alleged miracle at face value. It is merely to critique faulty understandings of miracles and to take advantage of further insights obtained by the sciences.